So this is one of Joe Rogan's buddies, Aubrey, Marcus. I'll let you guys get a raw look at this without me saying anything.
I first knew Joshua Draper as one of the homies I used to play ball with, but then he caught my wife's eye. Ultimately, in our expanded relationship constellation, there was an opening for Vylana Marcus and Joshua Draper to explore what that possibility might look like.
So expanded relationship constellation. There was a chance for his wife to explore with Joshua.
Wait, so she started banging this other guy? So they opened up a whole new planet in the constellation, bro. That's what?
You got to watch out for these hippies, bro. Myron, have you ever had any of this hippie talk on the Fresh and Fit podcast where they talk about the expanded relationship constellations?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just sounds like a fancy way of saying I'm a cuck. This is very strange. It's wild how people, go through leaps and bounds and double backflips to go ahead and just justify their bullshit. So, it's plainly put, the guy's a cuck, but he's over here trying to say we're exploring and we're doing all this other stuff. They use all this fucking word salad to justify their stupidity. It's very interesting, man. This is like a thing that I've noticed almost exclusively with people that are progressive. They'll use certain buzz terms, right, to justify their moronic behavior, right?
Yeah.
And they use the guise of like being a moral superior or I'm tolerant, etc. But I find it interesting how those people are almost never tolerant of individuals that have conservative viewpoints. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
They're tolerant of degeneracy, but they're never tolerant of anyone that opposes their worldview.
Let me ask you a question, though, a hypothetical question.
Yeah.
Let's say that you have like a couple who is a bunch of progressives, right? Is it actually, do you think that if conservatives started banging their wives because they were attracted to them, would that help turn them out? Like, do you think that would help change the ideology of the women?
Turn them out is crazy.
We're in such a, after talking to 3,500 plus girls closing in on 4,000, it's just, I think we're cooked, bro. I don't know, man. I think we're cooked.
You think we're done? It's over?
We're damn near cooked, bro. Like it's amazing to me how, regardless of education, racial background, where they grew up, father figure or not, having a father obviously mitigates some of these problems, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's like we're just cooked. Like the strength of feminism is so wildly ubiquitous. Like I don't know if we can go backwards. At this point, I don't know if they're gonna concede. Obviously we should try, right? We should do our best, save those that want to be saved. But I don't think they're going to yield any or concede on any of the territory they've taken, because it's like they would have to go backwards from a progressive standpoint. So
yeah, that's true. I agree that they would. I just don't care what they want, right? That's the whole point. But anyway, let's keep moving here, Jake.
Yeah.
This actually gets better.
People can have so many perspectives around what this is. But
just to let you know, by the way, for a bit of context, they're doing a podcast with the guy and his wife and the guy who's cucking him at the moment.
Like the gleaming truth and beauty of what's in my heart is like, this is the happiest that I've ever been, the most grateful that I've ever been. It has required and brought out the absolute best of me.
My overwhelming love,
just
for Vi, but for Vi to experience the fullness of what's possible for her life is like a stronger part of my character and will than that natural primal response, which is like, so I immediately went into wingman mode. First of all, I felt
What? Yo.
It's
immediately went into wingman mode.
May this love never find me.
Wow.
Holy shit, dude.
Hey, you got the dreads. We got the dreads going, Jake?
Yeah, this is the sneaky fucker, the one who's fucking his wife.
Yeah, this is a guy. The hair, she couldn't stay away from the hair. It really just drew her in.
Yeah, man.
That was it. Yeah. All right.
The directness of it, if there's something there, if this is a true thing, I bless the truth.
And for me, it's like, how am I in this experience where the person that I love more than anything is so graciously and generously and beautifully, impeccably granting me the freedom. Thank you so
Get
much.
so
I know.
hang on. So just the adjective laced diatribe to try to soften the blow.
Yeah.
And then saying thank you for letting this other guy fuck my mouth. Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong though? Am I wrong?
Holy shit, dude.
Myron, give us the womanese, bro. Give us the womanese. What's she really saying?
Holy crap, dude. Like, okay, what I'm about to say doesn't reflect the individuals on this panel, first and foremost, okay? They might agree with some of it, but it might not reflect them. This is my take. I think we need to go back to making women second-class citizens. We need to go, like, we need to start withdrawing some of their rights. Because what I've come to realize is when you give women power, progressivism becomes rampant. They use word salad to justify their bullshit behavior. They do a whole bunch of deplorable things. And I think for a long time, this is why every society has always made sure that either a father or a brother or some other male in her family that's close to her that doesn't have a vested interest in smashing her needs to be involved in the mating process because of shit like this. Like, you know, this is what fathers are supposed to defend against, right? And the fact that she's on a podcast talking about this with no shame, I think kind of shows how far we've fallen as a society. But the reason why is because we've basically effectively given the market to women where they dictate what's appropriate and what's not appropriate in the bedroom now. That's really what it's come down to. So I know some people might say, oh, well, who cares? Like, let them do whatever they want. But the problem with this is that with women, they're followers, right? They're followers. They're not really individuals capable of independent thought. Very few are capable of doing that. So when this bullshit is out there in the media, an impressionable girl at maybe 18 years old is scrolling through her TikTok and she sees this, she's going to think that this is appropriate, right? Because I think a lot of the covenants that we had in place to kind of deal with this problem, shame, religion, father figures, the family, all the training wheels we had to keep women from being, they're gone. They're effectively gone. And then this is the byproduct of what happens when you allow unhinged and unfeathered hypergamy.
But let me ask you this,
Yeah.
right? It'd be remiss in my duties not to give one piece of pushback here, which is this guy is allowing this. This guy is sitting there like a fucking chump with with his head like this while she thanks him for letting this other guy stuff her like a Thanksgiving turkey. How does this fucking guy not have to walk the walk of shame? How does he not get the tomatoes thrown at his fucking face? Like, how does that happen, though? What about that part of it?
Yeah, no, of course men have to accept some type of responsibility for the fuckery, especially when they're in a relationship. Clearly, he's not the one leading the relationship. She is.
Yeah, that's true. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, so it's a combination of two different things, right? So it's her being a 304, and then it's him being too stupid to realize that her being a 304 is unacceptable behavior, right? I think a lot of guys, modern men, have a big problem with establishing boundaries with women. This is something that I've noticed with a lot of young guys, is they're extremely uncomfortable or unwilling to put boundaries up with women, and they kind of just let them do whatever they want. And obviously, as she continues to do whatever she wants, it snowballs, becomes worse. And then, bam, now you got an insufferable girlfriend who's cucking you on a podcast.
And that's
you got to be able to just put down the boundaries and to be able to leave, though. If you're not actually going to leave, and if they don't actually think that you're going to leave, then they will just keep shit testing you. But sometimes it's to the shit, they shit test to the point where you actually just have to say, all right, well, fuck off. We were actually just talking about this before we were on air. And you have to say to them, all right, fuck off. And then they always come back to you every single time.
Is there a demoralizing aspect socially, you think, Myron, from society, from the inside out, which is now so rotten that this demoralizing aspect has moved to young Zoomers and even millennials? Like, I see this guy's got to be close to our age, right? He's got to be more in the millennial camp than he is in the Gen Z camp. Why we're just so they're so demoralized putting up with this? Is this part of a kind of social zeitgeist you think men are dealing with?
That's a very good question. I'll give I've talked about this before, and I really kind of want to get your take on this. I'm going to kind of give you what I think, and I'd love to get your feedback. I think millennials, right? People in our demographic, 30s, 40s, born in the 80s, 90s, right? I think we're
Redacted.
and what I mean by this is, and I'll explain what I mean by this. I think young men today are more based than our people were back in 08, 07, 06. Because, and I always use the Obama era kind of as like a barometer, because I think this progressivism bullshit that we're kind of dealing with now with the 99 genders, I tie it back to 2008. Because obviously Bush had left such a bad taste in people's mouths with the Iraqi war. The American public was desperate for change. And Obama kind of came at the perfect time where you had this guy who was black, he was mixed, he was well-spoken, he came from Harvard. It's like almost a perfect storm where he was able to come in with his charisma and charm and, eloquent speaking. And then he was able to kind of surreptitiously usher in this woke era of, BLM, he was the one that approved gay marriage, right? And I think that was like the slippery slope that's kind of led to all this other fuckery. And, some guys wake up, right? Like obviously us, we might have been a bit more left-leaning when we were younger and now we grew up. But I would say there's still a lot of us that are still holding on to that 2008 progressivism and haven't grown up. I think our generation is more cucked than the new guys. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, well, I wanted to give you the take. I call this this is a crisis of competency. So here's my theory on this. If you do you know men who are super competent at their job? I mean, just beyond competent. Like the people who can go in and they can look at a stairwell and just weld that shit together out of their mind, right? They can just do it out of their brain. They don't need a schematic. They don't need fucking anything. They can just do that shit. Well, those skills are rapidly deteriorating, and they have been since I was a kid, have been since you were a kid. If you're not competent and you don't learn competency in the workforce, why do we expect that if there's a crisis of competency in the workplace and things like this, that wouldn't bleed over into relationships? If people are so fucking incompetent they can't do basic tasks, why would we assume that this wouldn't bleed into the competency of holding down a relationship? And I think that the competency crisis, and this would be a mix of everything from mass migration to demoralization to these ideas of turning the workplace into a mercenary marketplace where it's just a free-for-all, go for the job that pays the most, fuck stability, fuck longevity. It's a mercenary marketplace, and the bean counters have put this in. As competency crashes out, I think that it affects all aspects of men's lives, and that includes their relationship aspects.
You have to be confident with the relationships. And it's interesting because, Myron, I've heard you say before, it's like accomplishment begets competence
leads to accomplishments, which then leads to confidence.
Yeah. And you have to be confident in the parameter of a relationship to be able to set boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, and competent. You also have to be competent. Like, you need to have enough competency to understand what's going on in your own life and how to manage your own affairs. You know what I mean? And honestly, one thing that helps and assists men and teaches them that is the workplace. Competency, how to be competent. They learn that shit working with other men, especially in trades, things like this. That's why when you see these people say, well, the masculine men are all in the trades. Well, is that the case, or is it just that that's where the competent men are?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, if you can barely do your job properly, how the hell are you going to be in a position to lead a female, right?
Yeah.
Who I would argue is one of the biggest tests of your competency because, obviously you got to be able to do things outside of the work, outside of the house and then be able to, deal with her. But yeah, I would agree that the ability to critically think and then be a problem solver is kind of something that, with ChatGPT and the ease of the internet and Google and everything else like that, it has made a lot of guys incompetent in many different ways. For sure. Yeah,
I agree. But I mean, wouldn't we expect there to be bleed over? Like in all aspects of your life, if you're incompetent in the workplace and you're incompetent in these other things you do, why would we ever expect men like that to be successful in relationships, being competent in handling interpersonal dynamics between people? Incompetency seems like it bleeds over into everything, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it absolutely does, right? I use this analogy a lot of the times with the gym, right? So if you go to the gym, and you're dedicated and you build up a good body or you get it in shape, all these skill sets that you learn from going to the gym, being disciplined, abstaining from BS, being consistent, all this other stuff, you can go ahead and apply that to other endeavors and it helps you so much. So yeah, you can make the argument for 100% that if you're an incompetent person in work, right, where that's your livelihood and men are judged off of their career and their trade and everything else, if you're not competent with what you're supposed to be doing, yeah, that incompetency is going to bleed over to a bunch of different aspects of your life. I agree.
Now, I would also, to reinforce your point, give you the other side of this, is that women are almost always generally incompetent at work. So why should we have any expectation that they're ever going to be competent in relationships?
I'll give you a perfect example of this. So as you guys know, what's going on right now is that Cincinnati beatdown, right? And after the Cincinnati beatdown, the chief of police got on, and it was like this overweight, insufferable voice, woman, and she was just going on a yap session at the press conference talking about this beatdown. And I think Matt Walsh had posted, hey, why are women in law enforcement? And he got a lot of backlash for it. But as someone that comes from that world, he's 100% correct, because as someone that used to work in law enforcement, women, a lot of the times basically put you in a very dangerous situation, especially when you're in a use of force scenario, right? Like, I'll give you an example. When I used to do with planned raids, right, when we would go and hit somebody's house at 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, or serve a search warrant, I would never let women be on the entry team, right? Because as the team leader, I pick who goes where. So I always used to put women on the perimeter, right, or do some other bullshit job, because I knew that putting them in the stack or putting them in a situation where they're open to potential a firefight or a physical confrontation, that effectively weakens everybody else. So that's an example of what I mean when I say, like, women in many cases should not even be in law enforcement. And if they are, we have to almost make a new standard for them to adapt to their mediocrity.
But they do make new standards for them in law enforcement, right? And they make new standards for them as prison guards, and they make standards for them as soldiers, and they make standards for them. They always are. In other words, the bar never gets raised. The bar necessarily just gets lowered, right?
Yep.
Always necessarily has to get lowered. But doesn't that lower competency? It has to, right? It has to lower competency. Even if you were the best woman in the world at putting handcuffs on a man, you still have to get him on the ground to fucking cuff him.
Yeah.
So, the idea of competency in these jobs, I think, matters. Anyway, Jake, we maybe spent too long on that, but
yeah.
And I know it's because you love me so much.
Carrying this piano out so that me and your wife can have a beautiful evening together.
Oh my God.
And it was a long walk. And it was a heavy piano.
Yeah.
And it was comical, but actually really underneath that was this recognition, I think, between you and I, Team Bailana.
Oh. Team Vailana. Buddy carried the piano, a long walk carrying a piano, to go and place it down so another man could fuck his wife.
That is just beyond. But again, look at this goofball, the goofball who's allowing this, right?
Yeah.
Just seem like a competent person. Just seem like a person who
Well,
has
the
a
thing
high
is, though,
competency level. I don't think he is.
He owns On It with Joe Rogan. He is in good shape. He's ripped. He's rich, successful with his career. But the fact that another guy's fucking his wife, he could not be more low status and less competent to me.
Yeah, but there's exceptions to the rule. So while it's true that almost no man will ever get rich without a significant amount of hard work and effort, there are some fucking blockheads who get rich. There are some really stupid people who end up getting rich, but you can still see the incompetency in their life. Example of this, the lottery curse. Look what happens when incompetent people win the lottery. Yeah. They're broke in 5 years, right? Because they're completely unable to manage their own affairs. So just pointing that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can be as competent as you want in other regards, but if you're letting hippie, sneaky fucker inside your wife, then you couldn't be lower status to me.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is that, for a guy to accept that and go against his biology, right? Because let's be honest, it goes against our biology to allow a dude to smash our girl. Most guys that allow that to happen, something is wrong with them in the head. Whether they were brought up incorrectly, they didn't have a father figure, they didn't have a good masculine figure. You look at someone like Diddy, for example. Right. I sat at his trial for 2 weeks and, I heard quite a bit of testimony on him. And what ends up happening is you start to kind of realize, this is weird. Like these guys must have had some kind of fucked up upbringing to be able to allow this, because allowing another guy to smash your girl is 99% of men like this. I can't allow this. So something is wrong with you up in your brain to 100%. Allow it.
And there's no way that's not going to bleed over into other aspects of your life either. One thing that I've noticed is that if you're a fucking weirdo in one area of your life, you're usually a fucking weirdo in many areas of your life. Isn't that interesting how that works? But anyway, keep going there, Jake.
This is done.
We just got out of church. It was the second time in my boyfriend's whole life that he went to a non-denominational church service. What are your thoughts?
I really like it. It's growing on me. But there's some stuff that's over the top. For example, they don't need to be jumping up and down and screaming like it's a Wiz Khalifa concert.
Kind of a vibe, though.
Yeah, it's kind of a vibe. I just don't think it's necessary. But I understand it.
And we will be back.
We will be back. So.
What a bitch, dude.
Jumping jacks for Jesus so that he can sniff around that poon, dude. That's what's going on there, right? He instantly knew there's something wrong here when you're doing the praise him bees, when you're doing the jumping jacks and your hands are flailing above he instantly knew, wait a second, that doesn't look like respectful worship. That looks like a bunch of fucking female bullshit, right? But he's going to come back, right? He's going to come back.
Can we play that clip one more time?
Sure.
Just got out of church. It was the second time in my boyfriend's whole life that he went to a non-denominational church service. What are your thoughts?
I really like it. It's growing on me. But there's some stuff that's over the top. For example, they don't need to be jumping up and down and screaming like it's a Wiz Khalifa concert.
Kind of a vibe, though.
Yeah, it's kind of a vibe. I just don't think it's necessary. But I understand it.
And we will be back.
We will be back. So.
Unreal.
These in the Protestant churches, they literally they are all in like a competition to see who's the most Jesusist and who's feeling the Holy Spirit.
It's completely
the most.
performative. It's totally performative.
So let me ask you guys a question, because obviously I'm not as well versed in Christianity, so I want to make sure I understand like how severe this is. As a Catholic, is going to a non-denominational church like extreme? Would that be considered blasphemous? Or
yeah, we can't do that.
Okay,
yeah, we can't do that.
All right, so it's like the equivalent, if I was to give a functional equivalent of like damn near almost a Muslim renouncing Islam.
There is times within the Orthodox Church and in the Catholic Church where you can go to your priest and say like, my best friend's getting married in a Protestant church, and you can get some, special permissions sometimes to go, as long as you're not a part of a worship or something like that. But ecumenism is what this is called, or joint prayer. It's not just frowned upon, it's not allowed, period. From the perspective of the Catholic or the Orthodox, you might as well be praying with, to the demonic, right? That's
Okay.
That's the way that they would essentially see that, right?
Okay.
So ultimately, no, it's unallowed, not allowed in any way. And remember, from the perspective of Catholics and Orthodox, if you're going to worship God, the creator of you, you're supposed to be super respectful, right? You're supposed to treat it like imagine you were a deity. How would you want to be worshipped? With a bunch of hyenas screaming and dancing and making it all about them? Or would you want it to be about you and the worship of you? That's the point, right?
Okay, so no, because I was looking at the clip and I'm like, okay, like there's obviously, I'm not a Christian, I'm not too familiar, so I had to kind of figure out how severe of a violation this was. So, okay, so it's completely forbidden to go pray at another church. Like he's a Catholic or a non-denominational, so that makes sense. Okay, now that I understand the proper context, that he basically betrayed his own, religion by doing that. I don't know if you guys caught on, but he has a very strange and meek mannerisms. He speaks with a little bit of a weird
lisp.
Yeah, he has a lisp.
Yep.
He's not tall. If you notice, his girlfriend is walking in front of him. The fact that he went ahead and did this church and went against his beliefs to follow hers shows weakness. And it's amazing to me how guys will concede on damn near anything, to include their religious beliefs, to appease a woman. It should be the other way around. She should be going with him to a Catholic church and saying, oh, yeah, I went to a Catholic church and this is different, blah, blah. But for him to do it and follow her lead, that's absolutely fucking retarded.
You should never be in a position where the chick is trying to mold you. Like, I would hesitate to guess, but I would assume that he's got some money and he's probably got a good job, works in finance or something like this. And she's seen him and she's thought, yeah, I could mold him to be a long-term partner that would be good arm candy for me, but it should definitely be the other way around.
Now, remember, when it comes to...
And also, one last thing, too. Remember that she put this on the internet. So, like, now that you guys properly explained to me how egregious this is in the Christian faith, she put that on the internet, too. So that goes to show another level of disrespect.
Now, it's funny, some Roman Catholics may disagree with me about prayer with heterodox. Some of them may do that. But in Orthodox, that's just not allowed. period. But in Roman Catholicism, at least the Roman Catholics I've talked to who are priests, clergy, and then, men of stature within their church, they not only frown upon it, but they're just like, no, no, you're not allowed to do it. So there's a lot of base Catholics, I must admit, a lot of base Catholics.